Challenges and future of American hegemony in the era of globalization. Introduction. Amid the tide of globalization, the United States once stood as the undisputed dominant force in the world. From military might to economic strength, from technological innovation to cultural influence, the reach of the United States seemed limitless. However, with the ongoing evolution of the international order, this hegemony is now facing unprecedented challenges. How long can American hegemony endure? This is the question we explore today. Foundations of American hegemony. 1. Economic hegemony. Dominance of the dollar. The U.S. dollar has long been the global reserve currency and the primary tool for international trade settlement. This status enables the U.S. to dominate global financial markets, multinational corporations, and technological supremacy. The U.S. is home to numerous tech giants, such as Apple, Google, and Microsoft, which drive global innovation and reinforce the international influence of the U.S. economy. Influence of the financial system. Wall Street is the epicenter of global capital, allowing the U.S. to shape the direction of the global economy through its capital markets. 2. Military hegemony. Global network of military bases. The U.S. maintains hundreds of military bases worldwide, covering key strategic regions, ensuring rapid intervention in any conflict. Defense spending and technological superiority. U.S. defense spending consistently ranks first globally, with advanced weapons like stealth fighters and aircraft carrier fleets providing overwhelming advantages. 3. Cultural hegemony. Export of values. Through its media and education systems, the U.S. promotes core values such as freedom and democracy globally. Global impact of the entertainment industry. Hollywood movies, pop music, and internet culture embed American lifestyles deeply into the global consciousness. 3. Misuse of American hegemony. 1. Economic exploitation. Global impact of monetary policy. The U.S. manipulates interest rates to cause upheaval in global currency markets, triggering financial crises in some countries. 1. Capital flows and exchange rate fluctuations. Adjustment of U.S. monetary policy. Changes in U.S. monetary policy, particularly interest rate hikes or cuts, have profound effects on international capital flows and the global economy. When the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, returns on dollar assets increase, attracting massive international capital into the U.S. While this supports the U.S. economy, it can cause severe disruptions in other nations, especially emerging markets. Impact on emerging markets. 1. Heightened exchange rate volatility. Interest rate hikes often lead to dollar appreciation, causing currency depreciation in emerging markets. This increases the cost of servicing dollar-denominated debt, straining fiscal conditions and triggering potential debt crises, which can drag down the entire economy. 2. Capital outflows and investment reduction. Capital outflows to the U.S. diminish investment levels in emerging markets, suppressing economic growth. These nations may have to raise interest rates to retain capital, further exacerbating economic downturns. 3. Deterioration of trade terms. Dollar appreciation inflates the cost of goods and services priced in dollars, posing additional challenges to economic stability. 4. Financial market turmoil. Rapid international capital movement can lead to volatile stock and bond markets in emerging economies, sparking financial instability. For nations reliant on foreign investment, this volatility could escalate into systemic financial crises. Typical case. During the 2013 taper tantrum, when the Federal Reserve signaled a reduction in asset purchases, capital quickly exited emerging markets like India, Brazil, and Turkey. Currency depreciation and market downturns ensued, forcing emergency measures to stabilize economies, albeit at the cost of growth. Effects of interest rate cuts. Even as Federal Reserve rate cuts stimulate the domestic economy, their spillover effects on other countries, particularly emerging markets, cannot be ignored. These policy shifts often reverse capital flows and impact global economies in complex ways. Positive effects. 1. Capital inflows into other countries. Lower returns on U.S. dollar assets prompt investors to seek higher yields in emerging markets and other economies, boosting investment and growth. 2. Reduced financing costs. Lower global dollar borrowing costs ease the burden on economies with high dollar-denominated debt, aiding recovery. Negative consequences. 1. Exchange rate volatility and inflation pressure. While dollar depreciation strengthens currencies in some nations, it weakens export competitiveness and disrupts economic balance. Excessive capital inflows can also inflate asset bubbles and destabilize financial markets. 2. Risk of hot money inflows. Speculative capital may flood into emerging markets, creating financial market volatility and liquidity crises when it suddenly exits. 3. Increased financial system fragility. Eased borrowing conditions may encourage excessive debt accumulation, creating vulnerabilities during policy reversals. 4. Delayed structural reforms. Short-term economic gains from capital inflows may mask structural issues, postponing necessary economic reforms and heightening reliance on external capital. Case studies. Post-1998 Asian financial crisis. Federal Reserve rate cuts led to capital influx into Southeast Asia, aiding recovery but also creating asset bubbles and debt accumulation, which later exacerbated financial instability. 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. Ultra-low Federal Reserve rates spurred capital flows into emerging economies, boosting short-term growth but accumulating external debt risks. Global spillover effects of U.S. monetary policy. Whether raising or lowering rates, Federal Reserve adjustments have far-reaching implications through international capital flows. Interest rate hikes trigger capital outflows, currency depreciation, and economic crises, while rate cuts induce asset bubbles and structural vulnerabilities. The international community must address these dual effects, enhancing regional cooperation and risk mitigation mechanisms. The Federal Reserve should also consider global impacts, especially on emerging markets, fostering a more balanced and stable global economic environment. Impacts of large-scale money printing. The U.S. often prints massive amounts of money to tackle crises or stimulate growth. While effective domestically, this behavior's global spillover has profound consequences, particularly for other nations and ordinary citizens. 1. Shrinking dollar reserves in other countries. Many nations hold significant dollar reserves, and large-scale printing by the U.S. devalues these reserves, diminishing their real purchasing power and wealth. 2. International trade and inflation. Rising prices of dollar-denominated commodities, such as energy, increase costs for import-dependent countries, pushing inflation higher and reducing living standards. 3. Financial market instability. Large fluctuations in dollar value can disrupt global markets, undermining investor confidence and amplifying economic uncertainty. 4. Currency wars. To protect export competitiveness, nations may intervene in currency markets, exacerbating global monetary instability. The U.S. must consider the global consequences of its monetary policy. Simultaneously, international collaboration is crucial to enhance financial system stability and mitigate the challenges posed by U.S. policy spillovers.